Welcome to the Perfectly Sane Show, episode 697. I am Chris, as always, joined by Tony.
Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order?
No, unless it's set up. Unless it's completely staged and the McDonald's is actually closed.
Yeah.
And
Well, here's the thing about that. I mean, even aside from, it's like it's always a wonder with this guy, because apparently at some point he thought like the McDonald's people just dipped their hands into the fryers to take out the fries.
yes,
Wait, did he reach into a hot fryer?
No.
Oh.
At some point he was like, "Oh, just stick your hand, right? Oh, you use a thing. Oh, no mess. Oh,
So-
it's so clean."
yeah. So like, well, he thought that they did. So like, you know, when you take the fries out of the fryer, you throw them into like that hot, like that area where they just stage them. They throw some salt on them, and they scoop the fries out and put them in the container. He thought that they just reached in with their hands and stuffed them by hand.
Oh God, ew.
Yes.
Ew, don't touch my French fries.
And they don't. It turns out.
I mean, to be fair, he's never done anything that like
well,
a
I mean, and
person
that's
like
the
that
thing.
would do.
Yes, he's never like. There's a lot of stuff. Again, like that. Not only that, that means he's never picked up his own McDonald's, because it's not hidden. You
Right,
see how the
and-
fries go in the thing.
And
Yes.
he is like, he's known for eating McDonald's. Like it's one of his like things.
He said it at the
So-
White House.
Yes, it means he's even before the White House. Like it was like the meal that he ate. Like he has McDonald's all the times. It's just kind of strange. Like he must never ever go in himself.
But that's what I mean. Like, clearly he did not go in to ever pick it up, because you see that, like, because I mean, if you've been to McDonald's, I'm sure we've all have, and you know, like you want to see that because you know, like, oh, the fries are made fresh, because you see them pour it in, and then they sprinkle the salt on like 3 or 4 dashes.
Yeah. That McDonald's that he filmed that whole stunt show.
They had to shut it down.
They shut it down. It's actually it's a I don't go to that McDonald's, but it's like 5 minutes up the road from me. I guess he is trying to court Bucks County, Pennsylvania very hard.
Yeah.
He's been here multiple times, so has Vance. It's like, please go away.
Well, I mean, the stupid thing about it really was that this mostly came up because, you know, Kamala has mentioned in several of her speeches that, you know, she's middle class, and like one of her first jobs is at McDonald's. And of course,
Yeah.
so like right wing people are like, oh, there's no proof that she worked at McDonald's. I mean, I don't know how you get proof that you work at McDonald's. Their thing is like she didn't put it on her resume. Even if I mean, I can say I've never worked fast food.
Like,
You've never
what
worked fast
resume,
food.
though?
Yes.
Like-
the only time
like-
people are gonna care is like if you're applying to Burger King or Wendy's.
Yeah.
Right, like I don't put that I worked at the shopping bag on my resume either. Like
Right.
for 6 months when I was 17. Like,
Especially as an attorney. Like,
Right.
when does that
What
come
does
up?
that mean? Yeah. But then again, when was the last time Donald Trump had to like apply for a
But the-
job? Like,
and that-
like, does he know what his resume looks like? Like, what would be on there?
Well, he's never had a job. I
Yeah.
mean, an actual like
That's
you know,
true.
like
right, he's
I
never
mean,
had that.
president,
He's always worked for
president
himself.
of the United States was actually a job. That's probably like the one thing that would be on his resume.
yes. I mean, the other things would be on his resume, but like he worked for himself. He was the employer. Like, there's no like. Yes, I'm sure all of us. Again, we've all like, you know. There's I mean, I was gonna say a million ways to do a resume. I'm sure I have a million copies of my resume probably still in my email box from applying for jobs and changing out, you know, like things. But I never ever. It's like putting like your. You know, again, I never worked fast food, but you know, I've done like high school jobs, for lack of a better term, like the ones you do when, you know, you need money over the summer. So like retail, fast foods. It tends, you know, here in the city, I don't know if other, you know, we have SYEP, which is summer youth employment, which tends to be a lot of people who just hire kids for like 6 weeks out of the summer, and like junior high and high school. And I'm like, yeah, there's comes to a point where I'm like, I'm not gonna put that. Why would I put that on my resume? Like, yes, if I'm desperate for experience. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, Earl is here, as we know.
And you know what? This podcast, we know all this, but I gotta be sure of this. So yes, I did not see any of this town hall. That was the only thing I saw from Van Jones after the fact. I don't know if either one of you know that. Not the Van Jones, but the whole the I guess Kamala had a CNN town hall yesterday,
I believe so, yes.
and they were comparing the fact that it isn't a comparison. Like he gets kitty gloves and she has to be perfection every time she speaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he says, like it's even with Biden, right? Like he says dumber shit than Biden ever said, and nobody questions his fucking intelligence on primetime television. Like, Biden makes a misstep, and CNN and MSNBC are like, "Oh, does he have dementia?" And Trump's eating shit out of a bowl and on stage and dancing and like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's normal.
That's the other thing.
The dancing town hall?
Yes.
Yes. They like promised he was going to get up there and speak, and then all he did was like play music and like dance around.
It's one of those
three
things.
different versions of Ave Maria.
It's one of those things where you see it and I'm like, okay, it's probably again, I don't watch any of his stuff, heaven forbid. But like you hear about it, like, okay, it can't be as like maybe for no, it's like literally him dancing around to random music for what 36 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was the entirety of the content. That was all that happened.
I think he took 2 or 3 questions before that, and then he danced around.
Well, the questions were like, let's move on to the music. Like it was literally like just.
That was the last one. That was maybe the best one. Though he's like, maybe we take another. You guys want me to take another question? The crowd cheers, and he's like, all right, let's take. You know what? Just play the next song.
Yes, and it's insane. And I think I forgot if I had this conversation. No, I had this conversation somewhere else. Is that he has this thing where he's just able to shovel so much shit out at once that it becomes almost. And this is the thing I don't get about people who like somehow forgot his presidency, where there's just like 50 different things going on at once. So like nothing sticks because like you mentioned that, and that was like that might have been like either last Thursday or Friday. And the fact that like a week later, I'm like, oh right, that did happen because he's done something else insane in that time.
Yeah, he followed that up with McDonald's 2 days later.
And then was Coachella last week or the week before?
I think that was the week before where, he bust people out to the fucking desert to hear him talk and then left them out there. I don't know how people don't look at that and go, yeah, like he's a shitbag. Like,
right. Or like they're talking to their friends, they're talking to their supporters, or not even their supporters, like their friends, their family, who like maybe are Trump supporters, and one of them's like, that dude left me out in the middle of the desert. Like, I kind of get like a Trump supporter, a hardcore conservative, probably isn't going to talk to one of us,
right?
But like those are his people he's leaving out there. Do they not talk to each other?
Right.
The thing is, so much they do, and then they somehow justify that because originally it wasn't his fault.
It proved my manhood. That's what it did. I was out in the desert and I came back. Trump made me a man.
it was the bus company's fault. It was the venue's fault.
Yeah.
It was everybody's fault but his. And then no, it came out like they did not do it because they refused to pay them. And it's a not a talking point. It is a point of conversation that has come up time and time again. He refuses to pay a lot of people who do services, and they continue to do services for him.
Well, a lot of them don't. Like a lot of the companies that are people who've worked with him refuse to work with him ever again. They do
Yeah.
it once, they learn the lesson, they move on. America hopefully has also learned that lesson. We'll find out in a couple weeks. Hope.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not too far off. I will be happy when the
I was gonna say, not
nonstop
even,
political ads stop. So
not even a couple of weeks or 12 days away.
yes, very, very, very close.
I mean, this podcast in 2 weeks can be very depressing. So
Well, we may not. By then, we may not even know the result.
yeah. So I think last time we kind of had an idea of
Yeah.
where it was going. It's just I think everybody wanted to wait until actual numbers matched up with reality. Because
Yeah.
it was very much a point where I think people were like, yeah, Biden's going to take Pennsylvania and Arizona and Nevada, but they were all waiting for. Essentially, I think it was like once one of them was called, then all the networks just started to call all of them for him. But yes, I'm not looking forward. I mean, I shouldn't say anything. I'm actually not even in this country for election, so
Earl's not coming back. He's
I mean,
gonna see
yeah,
the result and then make a decision.
yep. That does
I'm
remind. That
just
reminds
gonna
me.
stay here.
Reminds me, I'm not here the next 2 weeks. Um,
Then
well,
we can
next
become
week,
an international podcast. I like that idea.
yeah, we shall see. Well, next week is different. Next week's Halloween, which is an actual Thursday. I do want to go out, and then the week after, I shall be in Barbados for a friend's 40th birthday.
Fun.
Ooh, where are you going in
Yeah.
Barbados?
I don't know. We're going to an
Resort?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's called the Club.
Interesting. I love
Yeah.
all-inclusive resorts. It's so nice to just
I've never
sit around and
been,
not have to worry about. Oh,
but
you're gonna enjoy it.
this one we're mostly going to. Well, not mostly while we're going, but it is no kids. So
Yeah. Yeah, we do that. We do like sandals. So it's just, I mean, it's sandals is a couple's resort, but like no children. So nice.
yeah. So yeah, I'm excited now that I got over paying for it. Uh, you folks did not get to have to hear about all my woes about hating to pay. All my friends did, but yeah.
Well, before Earl heads off to Barbados, I believe we played some games this week. Or Tony tried and just watched cutscenes. Tell us about Mech Warrior 5 Clans. Is that what it is?
Mech Warrior 5 Clans. I haven't played that much of it. The reason I haven't played that much of it, we'll get to in a little bit. But so I talked about it a little bit last week. So I played some more of it, and I enjoyed the gameplay. It's fun to play. It's great to like pilot those mechs around. The controls are great. It feels like a great Mech Warrior game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like the problem I've always had with a lot of Japanese games, which is that the balance between the gameplay and the cutscenes is off so much. Like you sit and you watch so much of it that you get bored. And the cutscenes in this game are atrocious.
Ooh.
Like they look good, but the acting is horrific. Like bad. Also, I don't know if it was like an error on my computer or whatever, but on a few of them, the voice acting doesn't match. Like it's off from the lip syncing of the characters.
Oh.
Now, is it like because it's dubbed, or
I don't think so. Because in some of them it's fine, and some of them it isn't. But God, the acting is terrible. They stop and random. Last week I was complaining about how they made fun of a guy for using a contraction because it wasn't like how planned people are supposed to speak. But like they all speak in really like halting tones. it's like the acting is also overwrought and so badly done. So when we were getting onto this podcast, I'd been sitting in a cutscene for about 10 minutes, and the only reason I was sitting in the cutscene was because you need to get through the cutscene to like get to the save point. Like it auto saves when the cutscene is over. Because I had finished the mission I was in, which was fun. I really enjoyed the mission. It was great. It's like you're going through like a clan proving. And so to do that, you need to like best somebody else in a one-on-one battle. But your guy doesn't want to be just a normal member of the clan. He wants to be a leader. In which case, he needs to win a one-on-one battle and then take his damaged mech and fight another mech and beat it. Which is a different. It's like this is how the game begins. Like this is like a one-on-one battle in this like arena. And it's a tough fight. Like the first fight kind of wears you down, and now you're going into the second battle and you're low on ammo and your mech is damaged. So it's kind of, and the mech you're fighting is not. So it's kind of a fun way to begin the game.
Yeah.
But so I win that second fight, and then I'm waiting for the cutscene to be over, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I will cop to this. I definitely skipped through the cutscene at the end. I gave up. Like I'm not watching this anymore. I am done. So I think it dropped me into this part. It was pretty clear that like that now the clans are invading somebody. I have no idea what's going on because I skipped through everything because I could not listen to it anymore. Which I love stories in games. I never do this. I put up with anything, and this was too much. It was too bad.
That's not great. Like
no,
because now you're just hoping that the gameplay carries you forward.
Yes, and I mean, I unlocked like mech customization. Like I can customize. Like, you're the head of a star, which is a group of 5 mechs, and you like can customize the other mechs. So you can like build them into a unit where their skills like match each other. Or, maybe have some melee mechs, and yeah. So I'm excited to get to that part of it because that all seems super cool. I'm not excited to get through the rest of the story. I mean, maybe the events in the story are fun, but like they already killed off one character. I'm like, I didn't care. I couldn't understand this guy before. He seemed really annoying, and now he's dead, and I don't care.
So he wasn't that important to begin with.
Right. Like, oh, he died. And your character's like reaction is like so stilted, and then immediately moves on to like celebration because he passed his trial, even though his friend is now dead. It's just, so that's Mech Warrior. If you like piloting mechs, it's great. If you're looking for a story, don't play Mech Warrior.
That is on Game Pass, right?
It is on Game Pass, yes. One of the other interesting things about this is it has 5-player co-op.
It's a weird number.
Because it's a star of mechs, which is 5.
Okay, yeah.
So I have not tried the co-op, but I'm sure I can talk someone into it. So
how did you play Mercenaries? That's the other Mech Warrior 5 game.
Yeah, I always tell this. I think I told the story last time how I got like bugged in the tutorial and couldn't finish it.
And you didn't continue on with it.
Yeah, I may go back. Since I'm enjoying the gameplay, maybe the other parts of that game are better.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Well, weird that there's 2 games that have come out 3 years apart that are both called Mech Warrior 5.
Yeah. I am going to play more of it. Like even though I skipped through the cutscenes, like the actual gameplay is fun, and I'm looking forward to like designing my mech according to my specifications. It took me a while. One of the problems I was having was it took me a while to figure out the controls, like which weapon group was which on my mouse. My mouse has, it has 4 buttons, one for each weapon group. There are 4 groups, and I kept hitting the wrong ones, which is really annoying if you're like, you have somebody in your sights for long range missile attack, and then you try to punch them.
Just like throwing a punch out there. Like, no.
And it's like, I don't play a lot of games like this, so I don't have like I haven't trained myself to, use 4 weapons at once. It's not really something I do a whole lot, and like, I don't have like a scheme in mind. Like I know people who play a lot of these games are like, okay, I'm going to remap the controls because this is the button I always use for melee. I don't have that. This game is different from the games I normally play, so that was kind of frustrating. And then which button is the melee button? And then I noticed I'd mapped 2 buttons to the same thing, and I couldn't fire my missiles, so both of them were melee. It was the whole thing.
Like, it's not this button. Maybe it's no, that's punch 2.
Just kick puncher.
Yeah, and then I died, and I shamed the clan and had to restart the mission. Of course, I deserved to shame the clan if I was trying to shoot missiles and was punching. Kind of, that's shameful behavior.
Fire missile. All right, punch. Fire missiles. Punch. Like, guys, I didn't set the missile button.
Yeah, it is interesting that like the mech combat is fun. Like the use of terrain, because you could like kind of like sit your mech out in the open and it'll just get pummeled, even though you got this like giant machine of death. It's still very much a hide behind cover, peek out, shoot, get back behind cover type deal with the mechs, which I had forgotten. Like how much terrain and mobility and getting things between you and your enemy mattered in this sort of game.
Cool. You play anything else this week?
So the reason I played a little Mech Warrior is because I had bought a new set of AirPods. My AirPods had died.
Mm-hmm.
And it came with a 4-month free subscription to Apple Arcade, which I've had an iPhone for a long time, but I try not to play games on it. Like I like to play games in other places. I was like, all right, fine. I was bored one night. I'll activate it. And there's this game on the Apple Arcade. You may have heard of it. It's called Balatro.
No, never heard of
it.
Yeah, I played so much Balatro in the past like 5 days. That game is cocaine.
I heard.
Yeah. Heard. I know you guys are super high on it, and I do really like it. I there are some things about it that annoy me.
Sure, it annoys everybody.
But I can't stop playing it.
Yeah, it's like I could do it better the next time.
Yeah, exactly. And you immediately hop into the next run. But like, even if I play super well, like the randomness of the jokers kills me. Like, I want a little bit more control over that portion of it because it determines the game so much.
Yeah.
All of it is so randomized that I know even if I play well, like so much of the game is determined by luck. Kind of drives me a little bit nutty. So at some point I'm gonna get frustrated with it and stop. But
you won't. It will drive you batty because you like I have the best combination of jokers this round and somehow it's not the cards I needed. And then like, okay, I need this combination.
And then it's like, but if you play a flush, it sets all your money to 0. And you're like, I'm going to try not to play a flush, but if I don't play a flush, I can't beat the boss blind.
The boss blinds I hate the most are like you can only play one type of it's not.
Well, the one I hate the most is like you can only play one
type of hand, right?
So no, you can only play one. There's like ones where it's like you can only.
Yeah, but it always reduces the amount on the actual.
The blind, yeah.
And with that, like you can use all of your discards to like put together the perfect hand, which you don't normally do.
Well, sometimes. Because again, you can get a joker where it's like, oh, you have no things yet, so we're gonna give you a bonus.
Well, don't use those jokers. Like they're the jokers that eliminate the other joke. Like there are so many jokers where I'm just like, why does this one exist? I don't want a joker that's gonna in 3 rounds delete all my other jokers, especially that one over there, which every time I play this kind of card, gets stronger. Like, why would I want a joker that's gonna delete that one? I don't know. It's super. I mean, it's great. I'm not denying its greatness. I've really played so much of it. It is fun.
Glad you are enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm still plugging away at it. Like sometimes I get a really good run, and then sometimes I'm like I just want to throw it across the room.
Yeah. every so often I'm just like, you know what, it's been a while. Let me just go back in, and then it's like 3 hours later. It's like, oh no, not
Well,
again.
that's the thing that's the reason I need to stop playing it is like you just look up and time is gone and like
Uh,
and I'm so used to like the games I normally have on my phone. You play for like 5 minutes and then you put them down. Like I can't have a game where I'm sitting on my phone for 3 hours.
Good news is, Tony, you could play that game ever.
I know. Now I can. Ugh.
Well, I'm glad that you have played a bit of Balatro. I know that.
is it only touch on mobile, or I guess there's no. I mean, I guess there could be like keyboard support, but
Um,
and
I don't know.
also, I mean,
I
I
don't have a
play.
keyboard on my phone, so
I assume you know this, but I always feel like it's always worth telling people that you can rearrange the jokers.
oh yeah.
Just,
No, I've been you can read not just the jokers, but the hand you're playing.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because order of operation is very important.
Yeah,
Extremely important.
having those multipliers at the end,
Yes.
what those going off at last. Although I have noticed if you have too many multipliers, you can't get your number high enough to multiply in the begin with. So
Oh, you mean if it gets all at the bottom, you need like
yeah.
something to like. Yeah, that's why again you kind of want a combination of both multipliers and additions because you want like that's really where it came in handy for me. Is like at some point you wanted to make sure that you could actually like because yeah, additions at the end don't do anything, and you get
Yeah.
addition. It's like this is times 3, then plus 5. I'm like, oh, I needed this plus 5 because plus 5 times 2 is more than times 2 plus 5.
There's that
So,
one joker I like though, that the one that adds 5 chips to every card every time they're played.
and then they have
If you can get that at the beginning of your run, you you could do some damage.
Yeah, there's a couple Joker. I mean, there's so many, but there's a few Jokers that I've seen that like, oh, if you play, a pair, we're gonna give you +1 chip each time.
And you're like, fuck you. That one's terrible.
But as it adds up, like you can
Yeah.
then get it up to like 27, 30, like each time you play a pair, and it's like, well, then you're incentivized to like play pairs and like look for Jokers that like give bonuses on pairs as well, and there's some strategy to
Oh,
it,
yeah.
but it's also so super random that
well,
Yeah.
and again,
Well,
that
you-
was
go ahead.
one of the things I said when it came out is like it's such an interesting game because in some ways it helps if you don't know poker that well because like yes, you sometimes end up being like, oh, like my go-to hand tends to be 2 pairs because it's easier to get 4 cards that are similar, and then you can get a bunch of like you get like that what are they called? Not the vouchers where it's like okay the type of there's so many different types of cards. The planets, I think that's
celestial cards.
Yeah.
celestial. Like you play, I'm like, okay, so like at some point I'm like, I have like, like I have 18, 2 pairs. It's like, like 2 twos and 2 fours are giving me like 10,000, 100,000 points by default. And you can get, all types of jokers where it's like, if your hand's just in 4 cards, if your hand contains, like this is something like if it contains a pair, so 2 pairs would count for that. So like I had that, I was running the table, and then like you add the higher graphs or the falls to your joke. You could run the table, and then you get that one thing where it's like, oh, your diamonds are nerfed, and it's like I've been working on a diamond deck, and then you ruin the run.
No.
Yeah,
It's usually spades for me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I always try to like build what I'm doing around the jokers that I get, but sometimes you just get fucked. Like you get the one where it'll make every face card play twice, and then you'll get another one where every face card gets +5 multiplier, and then you'll hit the boss blind. It'll be like, oh, face cards are all disabled.
Yeah. Or I also hate the
I
ones
will say
that
the one you guys brought up earlier this year that you didn't like was when all the cards were face down.
yes, I was gonna bring that up again.
yeah.
There are some like if you shuffle around the cards, like you switch between the suit and the rank, like how they're ordered, like you could figure it out. Or you just need like a couple cards in there, especially if it's later in your run and your deck is like balanced in a certain way. Like maybe you've like been aiming for hearts or spades or whatever, so there's more of that. You could it gets really easy to figure it out.
Well, that is Balatro. We've now all played it. We all seem to like it.
Yes, another contender of the year.
But. Earl, what have you been playing?
Well, one, I finally got off my ass and I was like, it's time to finish the fight. So I did finish Echoes.
You played Halo 3?
I have played Halo 3. I've played Halo 3 several times. It's a great game. Though, have I ever shared my stupid, embarrassing story with that? Is that your reach? I think it's 3, but that's neither here nor there. But maybe that's a topic for another podcast, like really terrible gaming moments, or very proud gaming moments, or maybe both. But yes, I played Echoes of Wisdom. I had mentioned before that I was like so near the end that I didn't want to like wrap the game up, so I kind of put it on the shelf. But I'm like, let me do this because I want to kind of move on to other games. And I was really near the end. I pretty much had the final boss left, so I just ran through that. It is interesting. I mean, spoilers. No, I won't spoil it. But it does kind of change up your strategy after like the rest of the game. So it's interesting to kind of see it in that regard. And for the big bad, I get it. Like it's Null. No spoilers there. It's not like anybody knows what Null is, but it's just kind of like it's a giant purple blob. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's a boss, I guess. But yeah, like I said before, the final boss aside, and the final boss is fine. It was solid, but like it was really just kind of at the end. I do think right now, easily one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. I think top contender for game of the year, really worth it. So I wrapped that up. I'm like, okay, what's next? What's new? So I'm like, instead of like, I was like going to Game Pass or whatever. I'm like, might as well dip into the games I actually do own. So I started it for two reasons. One we'll get to in news, but I think Jeff was high on it, and I think we were when we played the demo, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yeah.
So I started that. One, forgetting that the demo does kind of power you up a lot to go through. But also to Tony's point, it's a kind of talky game to begin with. Because there's a lot of like you go and you meet all these side characters who I assume eventually will become bosses. You have to fight and whatever, or give you their die and give you their abilities. But yeah, it's again very early in the game, very much still kind of exploring. I think I'm about to go find a guy who gives me the bow and arrow. I know I'm going to find a guy who gives me the bow and arrow. They are not subtle about it. But again, I have the movement. Combat. I'm still working on my timing for parries, but the combat's really solid. I will say this much, though, and I think I said this with the demo, and I said this when I played Evil West. I do not like a game that has you use all of these different button combinations because, like, to parry, you press F trigger. But to activate your like special charge move, you hold down L trigger and then you press the attack button. So what happens a lot of times is I try to parry, which opens it up, and then I hit the attack button, and the game's like, you did it too quickly. Here's your special attack. I didn't want to waste on this enemy that was already dying. So that's a minor pet peeve of mine, but I will work on timing a bit more. But yeah, it's a really charming game, really fun. I will hurt some people's feelings. I picked because you can go in and you can pick like either like a guided map tour or like no map tour. I'm like, I don't have time anymore to like try to like, oh right, no. If the game's gonna put me in directions I need to go, put me in the directions I need to go. I would explore on my own, but if it's telling me like this is where you need to go for the next checkpoint, I'm like, that's where I'm going for the next checkpoint. I will find the
I
bridge
always
along
do
the
that
way.
in any game that has that feature. I'm always like, why am I wasting time just trying to figure out where things are?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Send me where I want to be.
That
But
was
yeah,
how I played too, Earl. Like I
yeah,
played with the like at least point me in the direction that so like if I inevitably like go exploring or whatever, I then know where to
where I need to
go
go
when
back.
I'm done.
Yes, and that's exactly my thing. I am one of those people who will run around the map and there's like a tiny shiver that is still grayed out. I'm like, I've got to get that corner. But like, I need to know like at the end of the day when I'm finished running around, where do you want me to go? Because I'm not then gonna sit there and be like, oh, there's a room like 5 rooms back, 3 rooms up, and to the left that might be where I can open up now.
Right.
So no, that so like yes, I did that. I'm like I was so happy it was an option. I think it's one of the reasons why I, don't always replay those old Metroid games. It's like you have to remember where all these things go. But yeah, and more Borderlands, and then I think I've explained this before. I think I probably started up trying the original now. So I played
Okay.
two and four with a friend. So we went back to the original, which he's never played. But I mean, after playing 2, 3, and 4, these games all pretty much play the same. It's the same 3 characters. It's the same kind of puzzles. They're fun. They're very fun co-op games, but they are not. They do not change a lot between the 4 versions I've played, except for three. I think three is like a full 3D version. But other than that, 1, 2, and 4 are pretty much the same game with different coats of paint.
Yeah, they're just they're like side scrolling puzzle platformers, right? Like
Yeah,
yeah. I'd never played 3, but all right, well, glad you enjoyed Zelda and touching on Prince of Persia, which we as you mentioned we'll get to in news, but it does
I
have
also
some not nice news about it. So
I also assume it's also one of those games that may or may not come up a game of the year, at least in conversation.
yeah, there's some really good stuff in there. So um played a couple things this week. I did play a little bit more Zelda. I finished the what's it, the Gerudo Desert uh area.
Yeah,
So I did that one, and now I'm up in the Zora. I think like the fish people.
yeah,
Um, and it's like, oh, it's very much like the Gerudo Desert, where it's like to get into the temple you need to like do a bunch of stuff first.
side quest.
Yeah. So currently I'm like running around trying to get the two chiefs to get together so they can play some music or something. And that continues to be quite fun. I have quite the assortment of echoes now. Both areas give you quite a bit. Uh, but I haven't played a ton of that. What I did play all of actually is the Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me. It's the fourth of the Dark Picture games. Um, I think I mentioned last week. It's kind of themed around H. Holmes um, and his I think they call it the Murder Castle, but it was a hotel in Chicago that like he murdered a bunch of people in. And so the premise of this one is you are filming a documentary on H. Holmes, and you get invited out to an island where somebody has like kind of recreated
Wait, you're
the
talking like the
hotel.
Devil in the White City guy?
Um, I believe so.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was a like one of the first, if not the first, he was one of the first serial killers in
Yeah.
the U.S. and he killed a bunch of people at the Chicago's World Fair.
Yeah.
Like that was where kind of like he got caught.
And Eric Larson, the guy who wrote The Devil in the White City, which is the book about him, is like one of my
Mhm.
favorite authors. He's written a bunch of books about various things like that. They're all super cool.
Oh, okay. Might have to check that out. But yeah, so like that's the premise, is like you're filming this documentary on it. You get invited out to this island where somebody has like a bunch of H.H. Holmes memorabilia, and they've done like a recreation of some of the rooms of the hotel. Turns out they've done more than a little bit than a couple of the rooms. They have done the entire hotel, and in this fictional universe, and it is like a giant murder castle. So, it's a super massive game. You're trying to, it's a movie basically. You're playing through you're picking dialogue choices. You're doing some quick time events, and you're trying to keep your team here alive. I think it's I like it the most, like the story wise. I like it the most out of the Dark Picture games. I think Earl's played a couple of these.
Yeah, I played the first two, I want to say. The one on the ship.
Manamadan, and then Little Hope.
Yeah.
The one in the town.
Yeah.
None of these end well. Like, I think the endings are all not great, and this one maybe ends a little bit better than those, but it's like super cliche. Like the killer is almost like Jason at the end, where they keep harming him and he keeps coming back. Somehow they're like speeding away from the island on a boat, and somehow he is, coming up from out of the water on the side of the boat for the final confrontation. It's like, it's what you expect from a slasher film, but it's also completely stupid. So, I thought it was fun though. I thought the performances were good. The story's pretty good. The puzzles are decent. Yeah, it's a good one of those. And then on top of that, do you guys remember the XCOM shooter?
The XCOM shooter?
So it was on the 360 and PS3. It's called The Bureau.
Oh yes, okay, that I remember. The name is
the Bureau XCOM Declassified. I believe it's on sale. It was on sale for $3 last week.
Oh,
it's
nice.
back to 20. But I finally, I've been plugging away at some achievements and stuff, and that game came up. It's like, hey, here's like an easy achievement for it. So I popped that in, and then I decided to finally finish that game. That game's pretty good. The gameplay is like Mass Effect. So you have a team of 3. You can bounce between any of them, but you generally control like the leader, and the leader can then assign actions to your squad mates. And then like you act in third person shooter. So you just left trigger, shoot. You have a couple different weapons. Very Gears of War kind of style. I had always, I think I'd played it when it came out. Played like the first mission. I was like, I don't know. I wasn't in the mood for it at that point, so I never continued on with it. And it has a pretty decent story. As you're playing, like the base is kind of building out, kind of how you would in actual XCOM, like your home base. You're not doing any of the base building, but like it's building out as like you would progress in an actual XCOM game. And the actual gameplay is kind of fun. Like it's you go on missions, there are like side missions that you can do too. And I guess in an actual XCOM game, those side missions would lower like the threat level. Like there's no threat level here. You can just advance to the next big story bit. But they have like the side missions, and you can send other agents out on quests, and they'll gain experience. And your squad mates that aren't the lead. So you play as this guy, Agent Carter, or I believe that's his name. And if he can't die, but everybody else can. So like your squad mates they can get permadeath. So if they die on a mission and they bleed out, like you lose.
Oh, they're dead.
Yeah, so you have to then so you want to be sending your squad mate, you want to your roster of agents, you want to send them out on missions so they level up so that you are able to have qualified agents to go with you on the missions. I'm at the very very end of the game currently, and I don't like how it's ending. It's one of those ones where it's like, oh, here's the final area, and it's gonna be like wave after wave after wave of enemies. And I think I got to wave 5 and died, so I like restarted it. That's where I'm at right now. But the game is consistently on sale for like $3 or $5. Kind of fun to like look at. It fits a little bit into like aliens kind of fit into spooky season, so
it does. I mean, I feel like monsters sometimes get the short end of the stick when it comes to spooky season, but they're the OGs: Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy, like OG monsters. They are the original. We just got killers and real world horrors now. But I wish I knew it was three. I'm always down to try a new game for $3, especially a cover based shooter.
yeah.
I'm curious.
Keep it on.
I mean, but how do I? Because you said it's from the 360 era, so there's 2 gens that have passed.
Yep.
Does it feel dated in that regard, or does it feel like, oh, we kind of had a hang on, we kind of started to get a hang on this near the end of the 360 era? I mean, like, not the first one, but the one I really think of, Gears of War is kind of like the first one I think of. That it's like, okay, we kind of understand cover shooters, we kind of understand third person shooters now. Does it feel like that, or does it feel like, oh no, we are still trying to learn the ropes somewhat?
Yeah, so this was at 2013, so like right at the tail end of the 360. I feel it is not Gears. Like, I mean, it has some of like those same mechanics, like hold A to you kind of do like a roadie run. But I definitely feel it plays more like Mass Effect, so it's not quite as tight as like a Gears of War. But Mass Effect, especially 2, which is what I would probably compare it most to, was pretty good. Like, shooting wise. So yeah, this one's pretty decent. Like, it's not like, oh, this is ancient, this is hard to play because it's old. Like, no, it plays pretty decently. And then you get more skills as you like level up. So, and your squad mates do as well when they level up. So you'll fill out like a special attack wheel or whatever that you can bring up at any time. So like there's a little bit of like stop. Like, I'm gonna do this, set up a bunch of actions, and then do the actual shooting. The actual shooting, it feels fine.
Okay, I only bring this up because I don't even think I dug deeper into it, but I saw a question that was fascinating, where people were like, aside from graphics, do you think, like, like, especially like the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era, gameplay wise, have held up? And I do think um, I think there's a lot of games that hold up in that generation and beyond, because I think the ones that are kind of, I don't want to say iffy, would be like the PlayStation 1, the N64, and the Saturn, where it's like we are trying to figure out what the hell we do in 3D.
Yes.
um, I know people swear by them now, and people are miss them, but like Resident Evil and Tomb Raider with your controls just do not hold up to me at all. I don't think they were great back then either. But there's people
No.
who miss that stuff, and I'm like, why? That does not make any sense to me whatsoever.
I don't miss the tank controls in Resident Evil, but there are things about how Resident Evil was presented then that I think
Oh, I don't. I mean,
were really good.
I don't mean. I mean the tank controls, the whole,
Yeah.
or like the static environment. So like it would change depending on where the camera's focused. Like sometimes up would be left and whatever. It's like, no, I don't miss that stuff. I don't miss that at
No.
all. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
people are like very much like it adds it. Yeah, it adds frustrations, but I don't know.
how many times like you walk into a room and the camera is like set at a different angle and you immediately walk
Run
back
back.
out of the room.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the Bureau it's a 2013 game, so it's definitely more modern in that regard. And it's like set in like the 1950s. So 1950s, and I think it's like right after. It's not directly after World War II, but like a few years after. So I think it's like early 1950s. So like your FBI agents are all prim and proper, and it's a neat little kind of like throwback game. That's it for what I've been playing. There's a little bit of news, not a ton, but Earl, you mentioned Prince of Persia was in the news.
Yes. And it's great news. It's fantastic news. It's amazing news. It's never that when it
Great
comes to
news.
Ubisoft. But yes, so word on the street, and it does seem to have been confirmed, is that I mean, pretty much shortly after the game release, Ubisoft decided they would not have a sequel to this game. They disbanded the team that was working on this game. Sorry, the crown, what, Stolen Crown?
The Lost Crown.
The Lost Crown. I've been drinking. I just talked about this game. Um, but yeah, so they disbanded the group. And again, like some of this I'm hearing but apparently one of the reasons they didn't want to do a sequel is they were like, if we do a sequel, it might confuse people and ruin the game's tale. I'm like, okay, that's an excuse you tell yourself. I don't think you believe it, but that's an excuse you tell yourself. But the positive does seem to be that the team was disbanded, but it seems like they were just put on other projects instead of like wholesale being fired.
Oh, so they
But
just let
so,
everyone go. Well, that's good.
yeah,
I mean, the game did not sell well. I don't know
no,
whose fault that is. Is it if it's Ubisoft's fault or it's just like people aren't interested in that type of game?
I mean,
Um,
calling a spade a spade. As much as it's not a huge brand. It's never been a huge brand. Like, I mean, going back to like, I remember back on the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 era, like the Sands of Time was. I always forget if it was either given out for free or you bought another Ubisoft game, you got it for free. But at some point, that's how I ended up playing it. Is like I got it for free with something else, and then Ubisoft and other third parties. We've had this conversation before, where it's not a major title. It's not Assassin's Creed. It's not Just Dance. The expectation is also like you're gonna get it half off, 75% off in a
yeah,
couple. Like I mean, honest, I got it for like $20, like 2 months after it came out.
yeah. Ubisoft games don't hold up well in terms of price. Like if you wait, and you don't have to wait that long. If you wait a month
No,
or two,
that's the
you're
problem. You
getting it on
don't have to
sale.
wait that long. Um,
And the
it's
games are like they're single player games that like you're not missing anything by waiting. Um, as
Right.
opposed to like Call of Duty, where if you don't want to miss that initial rush because then you're out, or like if you play the multiplayer in NBA 2K, if you're not there at the beginning, you're missing a huge part of the experience. With like a single player game, it doesn't matter when you play it.
And I don't know, like so Ubisoft approves when their games go on sale, so they've kind of put themselves in this position where gamers know, like, I mean, Walt says it all the time, like, hey, like Ubisoft games, like, I'm not gonna buy it at launch because I know that if I want to play it, like, come October, it'll be half off or more. Or as Earl said, he got this for $20, like 2 months after launch. It's like it's a $50 game, like,
yeah. I
and it's
mean,
not just us noticing it. Like
I
everybody
think
knows this. It's an open.
it's an open secret.
Plus, you get a better version of the game. Like you get all those annoying bugs that were there at the beginning get fixed.
And then if you get it physically, there's a good chance if it's on discount that you might end up with one of those games that I think this one it's like you have the I don't know, you have like DLC costume or whatever. It's like you still end up with like the launch edition because they have never got rid of the initial supply. So you still
Yeah.
end up with getting a lot of that bonuses. I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again. I've always kind of considered it for a lot of it's a FOMO tax because if you don't care about like I need to play the latest and greatest game right when it comes out, there's a lot of time. Like one of the things I always wait for Target tends to do a buy two get one free sale, and then Amazon tends to match it. That's a great opportunity to catch up with a bunch of games or movies or whatever I've been meaning to get throughout the year. That tended to be in like late October, early November as well. So it's a really good time to catch it out of the big titles. Um, but yeah, I mean, I honestly don't like. I don't know if it would have done better if it was like a $30 downloadable title. Um, I'm also very curious what this means for. As far as I know, they're still working on a remake of Sands of Time,
That I believe that is true. Yes.
and I don't know if it's just a combination of that. Like, it is also a brand that has not really been in the spotlight. I mean, outside of the Sands of Time remake in like a decade, and there's a window of like, oh, you can make a game and have people interested in sequels, and you can make a game that's like, oh, this is not what I expected. And again, a very fun game, really enjoyable, recommend it right now. But that doesn't mean a lot of people are gonna pick it up. It also came out in like January. There's also that dead like we just spent all of our money on Christmas stuff. Like we got a
Yep.
bunch of new games then. Hmm. But yes, it's a sad. I mean, the other thing is, I think this was also the team behind like Rayman Legends and Origins, and seeing them breaking up means that Ubisoft may or may not have, and as many interesting or unique or IP revivals that you would anticipate.
Well, sticking with that kind of thread there, there is a word that Ubisoft is in the early stages of a new Rayman game.
Dun dun dun.
But it's a
Um,
remake, right?
so that is what some people are speculating that the original Rayman is maybe up for a remake, which I don't know. I think those was it Legends and Origins
Yeah.
are the two best Rayman games. I would prefer you continue down that thread,
But they've
but
also remade those several times now.
yeah.
And the other thing, and because I think this was tied to rumors, and I don't, so rumors are not news, so it's always hard to report on them. But I think part of it, what came out with Rayman and some other games, was that Nintendo was approaching third parties to, you know, advise them or ask them about porting certain games over. Because I
Mhm.
think they are like, we're kind of all in on the Switch too, whatever that may be. But we don't want any people high because Nintendo, I think maybe on their handhelds are slightly better, but their consoles, they've always been terrible at the transition. Where it's like once their new system's out, the other thing just dies with them.
Right.
So I think what they want to do is like, oh, we still want content, but we're not going to be producing it. So can we get some of you, people to produce in for us? And I think, let me see if I can post some of this up. But I think it was like Rayman. I think it was like Drivers 1 and 2. And again, who knows? Who knows if this is going to pop up?
Hmm.
Um,
I
but it
mean
would
the
be
that I mean that then Driver 1 and 2 and Rayman 1 come from that era that we were just kind of
yeah.
discussing, that the PlayStation 1 early 3D era. So yeah, they're kind of ripe for remakes.
Splinter
Um,
Cell Bacchus. And I think again, I assume this would like if you're smart, I don't think this would be Switch exclusive. But I mean like a lot of these games, like it's far like Driver I think Driver 1 and 2 are, like they have a reputation. People did enjoy them at the time. I think Rayman. I think people enjoyed it at the time. Um, and Origins and Legends are a different beast, but like I think Rayman. I don't know. Rayman 2, I think, is a 3D one. I think Rayman 1 is still 2D.
Yes. I don't know if Rayman 2 is in 3D or if that is another one or if it was Rayman. I think it might have been Rayman 3D was the one that was the first 3D Rayman, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah, but it's an interesting rumor, an interesting strategy. But yes, that kind of ties into it. And again, I assume if you can get somebody to pay for your remakes, why the hell not? What else do we have going on? Go on.
Just to clarify, you were correct. Rayman 2 is the first 3D one. Rayman 3D is the version that was ported to 3DS years later.
Very confusing.
Yes.
It's also weird because like Rayman has only like 5 games, but they have been ported time and time again.
Yeah, you would think like, oh, there's I kind of thought like there's way more Rayman games, but there's really not. It's just they keep recycling the same ones.
It's kind of like The Last of Us, where The Last of Us has 2 games that have been remade 3 times.
Yeah.
So it's whatever. I did not realize this, or I would have tried to watch it. Yakuza premieres today.
Oh, I should give that a go.
Yeah, it's on Prime, so I'll probably check out the first episode. Well, I guess not for next week, or maybe we'll record on Wednesday. Who the hell knows? So yeah, outside of that, I'm trying to think of what else happened this week.
Monster Hunter demo is next week.
Well, what was that, Tony?
The Monster Hunter Wilds demo is next week.
Yeah. I guess if PlayStation 5 they get it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it was the Paris Games Week was this week.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
they had a big thing. Ubisoft showed off all this stuff. Ubisoft. Capcom showed off all this stuff, but the big thing was Monster Hunter Wilds with the PS5 exclusive. If you have like the PS5, gosh, my brain is broken. The PS Plus.
Yes.
You get 2 days of early access, and then it's available on all platforms. After that.
Neat.
Nice. Crap, you mentioned something, and I don't remember if this is news or not. I kept on seeing this, and I kept on thinking, did I? But is it Dead Cells? No, not Dead Cells. Vampire Survivors.
Vampire Survivors.
Castlevania D.
Yep.
Yes, that is new, right? I think because I always assume it's based off of Castlevania. Already, Castlevania stuff happened. Because I mean, they did Contra, and it's like the same company. So.
Yep. No, this is brand new. Yeah, they're doing a whole Castlevania level, adding a bunch of different characters, new weapons. It's kind of cool. They just keep adding on to that game.
Yeah. I mean, again, great $5 investment. 2022's Game of the Year, or East Game of the Year contender. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I really think we're in a holding pattern until the Game Awards with news and stuff.
Yeah. There's one. It's not necessarily news, but I found that this article a little bit funny. A Helldivers 2 Xbox release would need Sony and Phil to duke it out, Arrowhead says. It's I guess somebody asked the community manager for Arrowhead how, like, would you guys port it to Xbox? And basically, like, well, Sony owns all the publishing rights to it, so if Xbox wants it, they would have to kind of fight it out between themselves and to get it over there.
Oh,
weird question to ask, but
doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
what was that, Earl?
Oh no, I was gonna say I just assumed it's probably because like Xbox has wanted a bunch of stuff to PlayStation, that this was like a big multi-platform game. It's already on PC. I can kind of say like, oh, why not and bring it to the biggest audience possible.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I liked what I played of Helldivers. I think Tony did as well.
Oh yeah.
We just haven't really gone back to it recently. So
I mean, it was. I enjoyed my time with it, but like that time ended.
yeah. It's like I don't know. Maybe like an Xbox release would revitalize some interest in it. But I think the people that really are into Helldivers are probably still really into Helldivers. It's just we're not in that community. So
Right. I mean, we're not the type of person who would like choose a game as the game that we play all the time,
right.
forever. Like this is not going to happen.
Like
So,
even if we end up playing Call of Duty, like we're not going to play Call of Duty for 400 hours. Like it's not going to become our only game. So, yeah, Earl, you're right. Not much going on in terms of news. So yeah, I think that's about it. Jeff did mention to ask you guys if you wanted to record on Wednesday because he thought Earl might want to go out on Halloween. But either way, we'll be back next week. Earl, say goodnight.
From the depths of hell, we are
Jesus.
just 12 days from Election Day. Sleep well, ladies and gentlemen. Sleep well.
I mean, we normally record this podcast in the depths of hell? Like, isn't this?
We're already there.